Oh my gosh, Jimmy Butler has officially requested a trade from the Miami Heat. Who would have known? Where did this come from? Shout out to my guy Shams. Shams reported this a week or so ago, and as we all saw, Jimmy Butler's agent came out and tried to, like protest against everything Shams was saying. Just for a week or so later, Jimmy Butler officially requesting a trade and having the post game interview he had last night after a tough loss from the Indiana Pacers, the Miami Heat had. And there's a lot of different things we're going to talk about with this trade request and everything, but I do want to start there with Jimmy's agent and even Pat Riley coming out and saying, hey, we don't address rumors, but we do want to come out and say we are not trading Jimmy Butler. And I just don't think, and I've said this for years, a lot of y'all have heard me say this, I don't think that the NBA circles, right? Ownership, GMs, presidents, coaches, agents, players at times. I don't think they still realize how much more intelligent the consumer is. And when I say consumer, I really mean anybody that isn't in that circle. So the media, fans, different fan bases. We are in the information led generation where we all have these devices right here at arm's reach. And constantly on these devices, things are being shown, things are being reported, and things are being said. And the reports don't always have to come from reporters, right? Players themselves now can go out and upload cryptic messages. You get what I'm saying? They have burner accounts. You have fans who now can look at things and kind of assess them. How many times have we seen a random fan on a Wednesday, watching a random game, see some body language, see some type of argument that the main camera wasn't able to pick up, and they record it and they put it on social media, and now we have an entire situation based off of one fan being able to catch something, right? In the early 2000s, when I was growing up, that wasn't something that was happening because we didn't have social media platforms for messages and information to spread across large, regions of people. And now we have that. So all it takes is one person to figure something out or connect some dots. And the dots are just not as hard in today's world to connect. And so I say all of that to say it still surprises me when we have somebody like Jimmy's agent coming out and spending so much time trying to, ruin the reputation of someone reporting something that's actually a fact, as we see, when in your heart the reality is going to come to light pretty soon. So I just don't understand that. And even like the Pat Riley stuff. And I understand a lot of this stuff is narrative based. It's saving face and different things like that. I truly believe Pat Riley went out to address that because he wanted to make sure that when they traded Jimmy Butler, the fan base and the people of Miami looked at it from a certain perspective of saying, hey, Jimmy Butler requested a trade. We didn't want to trade him. But again, my point still stands. Miami Heat fans are going to still put this on you, Pat Riley. As much as I love you, you're a GOAT, phenomenal when it comes to basketball. But even GOATs can mess up and make mistakes. And I'm already seeing Miami Heat fans list off you. They're saying you ran off Shaq, you ran off Bron, Wade, and now Jimmy. And then they're going to talk about all of the things and why Jimmy Butler and this team isn't where they feel like they should be. And the first thing I'm going to address a part of Jimmy Butler's trade request is the Miami Heat are just not that good of a team. We respect Miami and the basketball culture and the basketball community because they are well coached. They player develop really well and they know how to put guys in good position. But when you look at the rest of the NBA, especially Eastern Conference and the strides that each team had taken in the offseason to get better and to compete, the Miami Heat fell from that group and they didn't get the MO that they were supposed to go out and find ways to get better, right? So I look at their roster because it's in front of me, and their offseason acquisition or signing or whatever you want to say is Alec Burks. It's Alec Burks. They traded for Josh Richardson last year. They traded for Terry Rozier last year. Signed Thomas Bryant last year. I know they traded him to the Pacers now, but he's still on his roster. And then everybody else like Pelle Larson, Khalil Ware, Keyshawn Johnson, those are rookies. Okay, I'll give you Josh Christopher too. You added Josh Christopher. But when you compare that to even the things that the Bucks did, and it ain't like the Bucks ran off with this amazing offseason, but they went out and just found ways to get better. Gary Trent, Torian Prince, even despite how they've performed in different spots, Torian Prince has been really good for the Bucks. And I know Gary Trent has had his ups and downs and whatnot, and same with DeLon Wright. But these are guys that were upgrades in comparison to what they had on their roster last year. The Miami Heat didn't do that. They didn't even take many attempts. You know what I mean? As much as I love Alec Burks, this team needed a little bit more than Alec Burks, unfortunately. Tyler Hero is playing really good basketball and whatnot, but still, there wasn't any moves. And even the Terry Rozier move at the time last year seemed like a good move, but it was still kind of like, is Terry Rozier enough to kind of shake up this team in the way that they want? Because this is a team that, believes that they should be contending and competing with the teams out east who are in contention. And still, as we look at today, they are 17-15, sixth in the Eastern Conference. They are, tied really with the Atlanta Hawks. You know what I mean? They have a slight better win percentage, 0.531 to 0.529. They're 5-5 in their last 10, and this could easily be a situation heading into the new year where the Hawks continue to play as good as they playing. Maybe the Pacers, flip a switch or whatever. The 76ers are still getting their stuff together. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They have lost their last 2, but you have to have a little bit of faith that they're going to turn it around even more and start to climb those standings. So we could see another situation where the Miami Heat are on the outside looking in and being a play-in team. And I just think at this stage of their little era with Jimmy Butler, they don't want to be, or they shouldn't be, a play-in team. You know what I mean? They already went to the finals as a play-in team, and even when that happened, it was a great story, but it was nothing that anybody should have gotten used to, or nothing that anybody should just felt like was a proper way to go into the playoffs. Even with the Bucks and the start that the Bucks have, the Bucks are at the same record, 17-15, and they look to be treading in the good direction. The Orlando Magic and all the injuries they have and have had, they're like a game and a half above the Miami Heat and are playing much more better basketball as a younger, inexperienced, injury-riddled team. So Miami needed a big move. They never really got it. They were in the sweepstakes for everybody from Brad Beal to Damian Lillard to the Kevin Durant's of the world. All of these different guys that I know Jimmy Butler has relationships with and that Jimmy Butler kind of was open about wanting. And the Miami Heat seemed to have wanted as well, and they struck out on every single player. Then they go into the offseason, they strike out again. They lose guys. You lose the Caleb Martins and the Gabe Vincents of the world. I'm not here to act like those losses are like the biggest detriments to the team or anything, but it just feels like it's ran its course. And now you put yourself in a position to where Jimmy Butler is at the end of this contract. He has his player option, and as an older, aging player, he has to think about the last few years of his career. This is the crossroads that every player runs into. He's 35 years old. He's still an all-star level player in this league. And because of that, he has to go and try to go into the market and finesse one last 3 or 4 year deal where he can make $25 to $30 million and ride off into the sunset on a nice last big contract. We're seeing that constantly around the NBA, where it's this weird time where these players like Paul George last year with the Philadelphia 76ers, you saw that the Clippers, they, kind of pushed against all of his requests. And all that it takes is one team to say, you know what, we're desperate enough to give this older aging player a substantial amount of money, knowing at the back end of this contract, he's probably not going to be his usual self and give us the production that we are paying for. You know what I mean? And even now, this first year of Paul George's stint with the 76ers, he's not playing like a player who is worth the money that he got. And, this is just the reality, because some players are aging really well. Some players are just at a weird spot in their age where the drop off is going to happen, but you just, you're desperate and you need that one move. And Jimmy Butler is obviously in a situation where he's looking for that. And I don't blame him. I don't blame Paul George, and I don't blame any of the players that are going to the market looking for that. I think James Harden is going to have the same issues and the same situation on his hands when he goes into the free agency market this year. Unlike the rest of them, James Harden is playing some really good basketball and kind of proving it. And it looks like if you put James Harden in a certain situation, you're going to get a certain level of production. And the way that the Clippers have been playing, it can pay off. So, um, yeah, I mean that's really my assessment on this. I'm very interested to see the way that it plays out as far as what team is going to be a willing buyer into Jimmy Butler, because of all of the things I just said. To acquire Jimmy Butler right now means that you're going to have some type of mindset that you're willing to extend him and create a new contract for him in this offseason. I believe that Jimmy and his agent probably want to get a deal done this year and don't want to have to opt into that last year. Even though it's a substantial payday, you would much rather have a good go to a new team that's in a playoff situation, play some really inspiring basketball that Jimmy Butler is more than capable of doing. He knows how to flip a switch, and that's one of the telling things that's happened over the past few weeks for this team in certain moments with the Miami Heat this year, where Jimmy Butler's play hasn't been what we know it could be. And then you'll have a game like against the Pistons that they lost by one, where Jimmy comes out and has 35, 19, and 10. And it's just a reminder that, hey, I can still do this. But then he'll play like last night against Indiana, where he only takes 6 shots. In a game before, against the Pelicans, he only took 5 shots, where he's just kind of like disinterested. But there's teams out there that know Jimmy Butler. They know the caliber of player that he is. And you put him in a situation where he does have his joy back, which is something he said in his post-game interview. He just wants his joy back, and he doesn't think that it can happen with the Miami Heat. So you put him on a team that, is in the midst of playing some meaningful basketball, just a change of scenery, somewhere that, clearly wants him if they're going to pay a certain price in acquiring him. And you put him around some like-minded guys, and you may get a different version of Jimmy Butler that we like to see in the playoffs. And if you give, a second half season of that and some playoff moments, and I think a team is going to be willing to give Jimmy Butler $100+ million for the last 3 or 4 years of his career, kind of similar to Paul George. But because it's a lot of complications with the second apron, what do you give up for Jimmy Butler right now? What is Jimmy Butler with all of that on the line, and the fact that some of the basketball he's been playing has been disinteresting? What value does that bring? And who is looking for that? I personally have screamed the Rockets, just because I know that they have some contracts that can make that money match, and they have some interesting young guys. You even see Cam Whitmore with some of the statements he made after their last game, and then in the post-game interview. You're telling me that you can't throw in a Cam Whitmore and Steven Adams, Jeff Green, some of those contracts that they have, and go get a Jimmy Butler, send him back home, young team that needs a little bit of that grit and that closeout and that experience in the playoffs. I would like that personally. I've been seeing the Mavericks. Don't know how the Mavericks would not only acquire him without giving up something substantial, but then they have to think about extending him. And then also you have to think about extending Kyrie when he gets into the free agency market this offseason. So that's just too much money complications for the Mavericks. And then you look around the rest of the league. I see other teams. I look at the Pacers. Don't know exactly what the Pacers would do, what they have, who they're willing to give up, who they're not willing to give up. They have some money issues themselves going into the offseason this year. They paid Halliburton. They paid Siakam. They paid Nembhard. Now you're going to have to pay Turner and Benedict Mathurin. You know what I mean? You paid Neesmith. Obi Toppin makes a decent amount of money. They're going to have to figure their stuff out too, especially being a 17 and 18 team with that level of tax and contractually having that much money being put into a team. You probably want to be a lot more better. The Atlanta Hawks are another team that I look at just because they don't own their pick. It makes all of the sense in the world for them to swing for the fences and try to compete as much as possible. And if you take away Jimmy Butler from the Heat and you add him to the Hawks, it gives the Hawks an advantage of climbing up the rankings because they're right next to each other right now in the standings. Jimmy Butler playing with a guard like Trae Young, we haven't seen that in quite some time, or ever, actually, I'll say. Derrick Rose was not like Trae Young at all, so we have never seen Jimmy Butler in that type of situation. That would be interesting, but still a team that, is a little youthful, a little young, and could use his voice and his leadership and things like that. But again, do they have what the Heat want? Because the Heat are also a team that is being ran by Pat Riley. And because they're 17 and 15, and because Tyler Hero is playing the way that he's playing, and because they have Bam Adebayo, and because they have, veteran players, they're going to still look at themselves as a team that's going to retool. They're going to look for a trade that can probably do both. They're going to want a guy who can come in and play some minutes right now, but then they're also going to want somebody that can be there for development and for the future. And I seen a trade today. I think it was Six Rings of Steel who threw something on the timeline, and it was something of like Clint Capella, Bogdan Bogdanovich, and like Kobe Buffkin. And I'm not saying that that's the exact trade that the Heat are going to want or need because they obviously have Bam and Ware. So getting a third center and Clint Capella, whatever, Bogdan Bogdanovich, what is he going to really do for the Heat as far as taking them to another level? Shoulder struck there. But that's the type of trade I'm thinking of where you had a couple of players who would be ready to play now with experience and are veterans, but then you also have a young Kobe Buffkin type player that they can put along with their young core and young talent to fit a certain timeline while they have a little bit of both, because that's what the Miami Heat is at right now, where they're going to be doing a little bit of both of competing and developing at the same time and hoping that they can, be one of those rare teams to make that work and just continue to retool this team over the next few years, depending on, how things play out. Um, and those are really the teams that I see. Do the Cavaliers at 24-9? Do they make some type of move and shake up their roster with a Jimmy Butler acquisition? I don't think so. They won the last 8 games. They're 9-1 in their last 10. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, is the saying. The Knicks, we have Karl-Anthony Towns, Mikal, OG. I know the Knicks and Tibbs are always linked to the Jimmy Butler situation. That probably isn't happening. So I look around and I see a Hawks team. I see a Pacers team. I see a Detroit team as well. You know what I mean? The reality of him signing there long term, don't know. But at the same time, being 35, when is he turn 36? Being 35 years old, looking for that bag, and the report says he's willing to play anywhere but Miami. He has 29 other teams out there on the market. September. So he's going to turn 36 this year, and start of next season he'll be 36. So will he ride into the sunset as a Piston? I doubt it. But if that's the only team with the money and willingness to give you that bag, then I'm sure he'll sit his ass down there. Memphis. Hey, I like Memphis with all the developmental pieces that they have. Some of them haven't even played this year. They have some money as well that they could probably make match with the Kennard $10 million or whatever. I like Jimmy Butler over there. They're gritty. I do want to look real quick at their budget and breakdown of the salary cap from a financial perspective for the Grizzlies, because I actually on paper really like the Jimmy Butler to the Grizzlies. Okay, yeah, boom. Duh, that's what I forgot. So you have the Marcus Smart, $20 million. You also have the Luke Kennard, $9.2 million on the last year's expiring. The Marcus Smart deal has one more year after. So, just those two contracts alone bring up about $31 million to Jimmy Butler's 40-something. So, you maybe add in a third player there, and you might have yourself something here. They also have some first-round picks, if I'm not mistaken, in their future. I don't think they have an abundance of them, but I think they do have a few where they could get a deal done. And I would not be mad at a lineup that has Ja, Bane, Butler, Jackson, Edey. You know what I'm saying? With Asante Aldama still coming off the bench, Jay Huff, Scottie Pippen Jr., Jalen Wells. And then, they have an abundance of guys. So if the Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard trade can work, they have enough talent to where they can attach a third player to be a youthful player. You know what I mean? Whether that's I don't know how they feel about G.G. Jackson. Whether that's a G.G. Jackson though, whether that's a you know what? I'm bringing up Fanspo right now live. We're doing this all off the hip, and I'm bringing up the Grizzlies just because I'm very curious. I really like the Grizzlies getting some type of wing, Cam Johnson, Jimmy Butler, somebody. I think they're long overdue. And it's good, like I said, as good as Jalen Wells has been playing. No, no knock on Jalen Wells or any of the young wings. Wells, Aldama, LaRavia, Vince Williams whenever he's been healthy, G.G. Jackson when he's been healthy. But we're going to put together Luke Kennard and Marcus Smart. And I just want to try to trade to see. The Grizzlies are unable to complete this trade since they are now over the apron. Grizzlies can only take back 29. cut 19. So they would have to put in 19 more million dollars. Where with the 19? That's the tough part. They may have to involve a third team to make this trade happen because there is no $19 million available. You can even add in Brandon Clark, but Brandon Clark, they're still okay. So yeah, that would be the trade. Now we're saying a success. So maybe somebody else is added to the trade as a 3-teamer. Either that or you add somebody else to the trade for the Grizzlies, which I don't know what other player makes sense for them. But I don't think the Miami Heat want to leave a Jimmy Butler trade with just Clark, Kennard, and Smart and whatever picks that the Grizzlies have. A 2025, 2026. They have 2 2026 first rounders. They have a 2027, 2028. So actually, they have more picks than I thought. They control their future. They have a first round pick for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have a first round pick for the next 7 years. First round pick for the next 7 years. And they also have 2 first round picks potentially in 2026. And then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 5 second round picks. But they control their own future as far as draft capital goes. So if this was a situation where the Grizzlies were like, hey, we're going to give you money and picks. We want to keep our Jalen Wells and our Jake LaRavias and our Vince Williamses and our G.G. Jacksons of the world. We're going to give you an expiring contract, a Brandon Clark energizing guy. It doesn't feel right saying Brandon Clark is on a different team, but if he was, I could picture him on the Heat, and we'll give you 2 picks. If that's the route they want to take, then they have enough to get this deal done. If not, then you have to involve a third team. You probably have to give up a young player of Miami's choice. I could definitely see Miami asking for a G.G. Jackson or a Jalen Wells, knowing that you probably don't want to give them up. They're going to play hardball. They're going to play hardball. But yeah, those are some of the teams at the top of my head that make sense. The Clippers are always going to be a team that makes sense at 19-5. They're on a 2-game losing skid, but they make sense. I just don't know how much money they'll be able to make match. And then yeah, outside of that, I got the Grizzlies, Rockets, Warriors, Hawks, Pacers, and maybe the Pistons. That's a decent 6 or 7 teams. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm interested to wait to see how this is going to play out. Miami Heat fans, I want y'all to use the comment section to let out y'all frustrations, your sadness, and whatever other emotions you're feeling about the Jimmy Butler era closing out on these terms. I know a lot of y'all are hurt. A lot of y'all love what this era has been. And I'm not going to lie. I like Jimmy Butler with the Miami Heat too. Is it my favorite Jimmy Butler? I'm a Chicagoan, so it's probably there. But y'all had some really good moments, man. I hate to see it end on this note. But I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm out. Peace.